Hey gamers, today we're going to look at Back to the Future, Back in Time. Let's check it out. There's a lot of setup to this game, but it's really not that hard once you get playing. First off, you got to put the pieces where they need to go. Lorraine goes in her house, George goes in his house, Biff starts in the clock tower. All four characters start in Town Square. If you see down here, Biff, Lorraine, or George cannot go through Town Square. They'll just move around the board clockwise or counterclockwise, while the regular characters can pass through Times Square. The only thing they can't do is go catty-cornered. You're going to place the 3 items that are needed for the DeLorean in their respective spots. As you see, it even says where it's supposed to go, so you'll just place those here, here, and here. Let me talk about the DeLorean, the nicest piece in the game. It looks fantastic. It's like, you can't read it probably, but it says "out of time" on the license plate. This is sweet. Get the game for this sweet car. Anyway, it starts right there. You're going to shuffle all your trouble decks, put them there. You're going to have an items list here. You're going to have a score tracker here. You flip it over and it shows it for 3 players. This is for 2 to 4 players. For 4 players it starts here. 2 players it starts there. And you're going to move this track every time someone takes a turn. Now, you're also going to shuffle your movement and opportunities. You're going to place 3 opportunities on the board. What you're going to do is you're going to say, okay, let me see. This goes to Doc Brown's house. So we just put it on Doc Brown's house. And then you do the same for the other ones as well. You just place it wherever they need. And these are just opportunities. You'll always have 3 out on the board. And if a character resolves an opportunity, you'll just draw a new one. And these give you special bonuses in the game. I'll get to those later. Anyway, you do have a stack of power tiles here you'll shuffle. You have your dice here that are really sweet. You have your picture that, of course, throughout the game will start to fade as your brothers and sister fade out, and then Michael J. Fox will eventually fade out as well. Has a awesome instruction manual that looks just like, it looks like the comic book from the movie, but it's just the instructions. It is phenomenal. You do have your little clock tower, which also doubles as a dice tower. Kind of cool there. But that's the clock tower, easy to set up. And you see I'm playing with Marty McFly, but you can also play with Jennifer, Doc Brown, and Einstein, Bart Bark. Okay, each one of these have a special ability in the game that you can do once per round usually, and each of them have a little bit of an advantage when it comes to rolling some of these dice too. But this is a co-op game that you're playing, and of course you're trying to do 3 things. First off, you're trying to help George and Lorraine fall in love. As you see, my love tracker is on 0, but you're trying to get them up here. You're also trying to get the DeLorean, all 3 pieces of the DeLorean, before he moves into the house, because once he gets here, if you don't have all 3 pieces, he can't go any further. But you got to move in here first. Then if you have all 3 pieces, then you can back out and keep moving down the road. And of course, on the road, you're going to want to move to one of these last 3 spaces for the DeLorean. So a few things have to happen before you get to the very last turn, because on this turn, lightning strikes the tower, and if you're not in position, if they aren't in love, you're going to lose the game. Now, each player starts with tiles that match their little color. If you see the back of these, show Marty McFly, and it matches his color. So you'll put them all, basically it's 1 of each base die, and then you get 2 of a certain die. And they all come with, I think Doc Brown has 2 greens. The doll Einstein has 2 yellows. Jennifer has 2 blues, and so on and so forth. But anyway, this is the dice that you can do. Now, on your turn, what you do is you start with a start tracker on the first turn, and you do whatever it says on the board. It'll tell you if there's trouble cards to be played, or opportunity cards to be played, or if a picture piece needs to be flipped over. And what you're going to do is just follow that. So the first thing you do is do movement. So you pick a movement card. Now some of these say ×2 toward the end, and that means you would do it twice. But anyway, I flip over a card and this says, hey, Biff. 2 things there. Biff's going to move twice. So Biff is going to move closest to either George or Lorraine. If it's a tie, he's going to move closest to Lorraine. So he goes 1, 2. Remember, he can't go catty-corner and he can't go through Town Square. Now, there could be other things that move George and Lorraine. Like this one moves George counterclockwise, and then Lorraine moves clockwise. Biff isn't even moving here. Or sometimes it's one or the other. Biff and Lorraine are going to move. That's what a Biff symbol means. So you'll be flipping them over and moving them counterclockwise or clockwise, but you're trying to get these two together, of course, without Biff being around. Now, after that, sometimes they'll tell you to play a trouble card. There are level 1, level 2, and level 3 trouble cards. Of course, as you go throughout the game, the challenges are going to get harder, and these trouble cards are always bad. And of course, again, you'd flip over a trouble card and take it to where it needs to go. So this one goes to the clock tower. This says, gangs wreak havoc. Characters cannot move through, into or through town square. Oh no, so as long as this is around, we can't pass through Times Square. So we probably want to fix this trouble thing. Now, for fixing it, you get a power tile, one of these here, which I'll talk about later. But you'll have one of these. Now, if this stays into effect when the next trouble comes out, you'll discard this one and put the next trouble tile into effect and then use its effect. And the effects are always negative when it's trouble. So it just gives you the players one extra thing they have to take care of on top of everything else they have to do. But after you've done that, you will also begin your turn. Now your turn can do several different things. You can flip over any of these tiles to either use that dice, or all of them say move up to 3 spaces. So if I wanted to, let's say I flipped over this die here, the pink die. I can move 3 spaces. So Marty McFly moves 1, 2. You don't even have to use all 3 if you don't want to, or just if I wanted to use 1 there. Now to get power cables or do certain opportunities, you may have to roll the green die and get that symbol. So then I'd flip over this one, and I'm going to use it for the green die. So then I'd roll the green die here, see if I could get that. Now, boom, got it. What do you know? By the way, sometimes these have lightnings on it, and lightning means wild. Okay, it can represent anything. Now, if you're rolling extra die, and maybe there's not another one here, but sometimes they'll need 2. Like I need 2 greens. Well, I don't have 2 greens, so I flip over my green, I flip over my yellow. My green came out this, and when I rolled my yellow, hopefully, oh, look at that. This never happens. I get a lightning, so that lightning can be even a green if I want it to. Remember, lightnings are random, so I would actually have picked up that item too. That's really good. But if I didn't get it, let's say I got one of these symbols. Well, that's not what I need here. I can keep re-rolling this unless a Biff comes up. If a Biff comes up, I cannot re-roll that. That is locked in. That die is locked in. And what Biff tokens do is they move Biff closer to Lorraine or George. Now, what if Biff is already on Lorraine when I roll a Biff? Well, that's even worse, because then Biff's going to hurt their relationship and bring the love tracker down 1. Of course, you don't want that to happen. You want Lorraine and George falling in love, moving up this track. But every time you roll Biffs and Biff's already on one of the characters, they're going to fall out of love every time. So that's kind of annoying. Now, don't worry, because there is ways to punch Biff's lights out, and those are with the blue ones. So I can actually flip over both these blue ones and roll both these die, and for however many stars or lightning I get, now look at that. I knocked Biff down with my lightning, but then he stood back up because he has a Biff. Whenever he's knocked out and you roll a Biff, he stands back up. So I knocked him down, he stood back up. If these had both been stars, then I'd have knocked him down for 1, and the second one, I would have taken one of these Biff knockout tokens and put it next to him. So the next time, let's say someone rolled 2 Biffs next time. Well, instead of him moving, you would remove 1 for 1 Biff, and the second Biff would stand him up, showing that he's ready to go again. But you wouldn't move Biff, and you wouldn't take, even if he was right next to Lorraine. I just have these down so you can kind of see them. But if he's right next to Lorraine, then even though he's been knocked out, when he stands up, he does not hurt her. Only if there was like a third Biff token in that scenario would he actually hurt the relationship. So you're going to be trying to knock out Biff as well as gather the resources, get the DeLorean here, and have Lorraine and George fall in love. Now, another thing you can do is, of course, you can go here and resolve one of these opportunities. If you do that, you get a power card. Let's go to power tiles. These are the power tiles here. They can do 2 things. First off, you have 3 extra spaces on your board to put more power tiles on there. However, if you run out of space, you can just replace one of the power tiles with one of your old ones. Just discard it and then replace it with one that you like. There are certain things that say, hey, whenever you roll one of these, you can treat that as a lightning, as a wild card. Or you get 2 of one resource. Or 1 lightning counts as 2 lightnings. Or move up to 6 spaces. There's even another one in the deck that lets you re-roll all Biff tokens as well. There it is. re-roll all Biffs. And you can only do that once as you flip this over, but there are multiple one of these in the game that you can get. So you can basically design, kind of power up, engine build your board to get more and more dice as the game goes around. Now, when you flipped over all these or you don't have any other turns to go, you're done. You can share dice on one turn with another player, but they can't be something you already use. And if it wasn't my turn, let's say, and these were all done, and on someone's earlier turn, before I went, I let them use one of my, one of my blues. Well, then it was my turn. I couldn't use that blue because I used on someone else's turn. All right, got me? But once you utilize all those, you're done. It goes to the next player. And of course, the turn tracker goes, and you pick the next card or whatever it says. Now, other things you can do is, of course, you can always, when you're moving, you can always drag George and or Lorraine with you. So if he was to move 3, he could go 1, pick up Lorraine, 2, 3. Marty McFly also has a special ability where he can move Lorraine toward him twice. So even if he was over here by George, he can activate his special ability this round and move Lorraine there. Now, when George and Lorraine are together, you want to roll some of these pink die to get them to fall in love. And of course, however many hearts you roll, this one has 2 hearts, 1 heart, or, lightning symbols. So maybe I want to do a green too and hopefully get a lightning symbol. Shut up. Never get these good rolls in a game. So that could count as 2 hearts. And so I move them up 2 more on the track. Now, every time you get to a picture, I'm just going to move ahead here. You get to a picture, you have to flip over one of the tiles, showing one of the family members flipping, fading away. The only time you don't flip over a tile is if they're on one of these last few spaces on the love meter, then you don't flip over any tiles. Okay, that's the only time you wouldn't do it. But toward the game, you're going to be flipping over, these one by one. His family members are just all going to fade away. Now, if the picture completely fades away, obviously you're going to lose the game, regardless of whether you make it to the end or not. If the picture fades away, then George and Lorraine never fall in love and you never existed. Kind of sad. By the way, I should also mention that some of these trouble things or some of these opportunities can also get you certain items in the game. Now, an item comes to you exhausted on the gray side, except for the backpack. But after that, you flip it over, and once per round, you can always do whatever that special ability is. And you can pick up multiple items in the game to help you out. So, that's basically it. You are trying to collect the 3 pieces for the DeLorean, so when it gets here, it's good to go. And then get the DeLorean to one of these 3 spots here. You're hopefully going to have them fall in love, and hopefully that picture's not going to be faded. Once you hit that, and everything's completed, you win the game. If it hits this, and one of these 3 things, or the DeLorean's not in the right position, or they're not in love, you lose. You also lose if the picture goes completely blank. And that is Back to the Future, Back in Time. Final thoughts. What do I think about the game? Well, let me tell you what. I love the movie, and I friggin' enjoy the game. This is basically the movie in board game form. Now, I don't know much about Funko games. I know they make a lot of games at Target, and usually I'm not interested in them. But when I saw this one, I guess the 35th anniversary is this year, but I was like, is this actually that good? Is it actually that good of a game? Should I get it? There's a few, I think there's another Back to the Future game that came out with combining all 3 movies. I went, ooh, that's the one I want. But when I looked at it, I was like, that doesn't look as fun. This one looks a lot of fun. It looks a lot nicer too. So this is the one that I picked. I'm glad I did. Of course, my gaming group's not the best in co-op games, but they love the theme. Obviously, you have to watch the movie to enjoy the game. But to be honest, it's very thematic, and it is a lot of fun. I think it's a good gateway game too for co-op games, for especially people who love the movie. It's really cool. I really like it. The first time we played it a little wrong, as always. I thought everyone took a turn and then you move the turn tracker. No, you move it every round. That's what makes it super difficult. And it is super difficult, but it's not impossible. I will say that. There were times we thought we were going to lose, but we ended up winning at the very last minute. It was so satisfying, just in time before that lightning to strike. And you're all cheering and everything. So it's a lot of fun stuff here. I can definitely recommend this to anyone who is a Back to the Future fan. I love the artwork too, by the way. I mean, I wouldn't have been opposed if they used pictures from the movie, but the artwork is kind of cool. That comic book is just awesome. All right, gamers, that's all the time I have for now. So until next time, you know what to do. Game on.